Welcome to today's Explainer. We're unpacking a truly fascinating topic. And right off the bat, I want to challenge you a little bit. I want you to think about how first impressions in animation are secretly, almost mathematically calculated. The geometry behind Ava Thompson's design, it is an absolute masterclass in this hidden science. Figuring out exactly how her shapes and colors are put together, it's honestly like cracking a secret code. And we're going to break the whole thing down for you today. Okay, let's dive into this. Why is it that you instantly recognize her silhouette? Think about it. Even completely out of context, completely stripped of all color and detail, just a simple outline of those oversized goggles resting on a hoodie triggers immediate recognition. It's wild to think about how fast our brains process that, right? We're going to tease apart the mystery of how that specific shape literally hacks into your mind to make her instantly iconic. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the power of silhouettes, then the psychology of shapes, followed by Ava's geometric blueprint. After that, we're hitting the color matrix code, the key accessory rule, and finally wrapping up with a modern animation masterpiece. Let's get into it. Section 1. The power of silhouettes and recognizing character. Great character design pulls psychological levers in our brains using shapes, colors, and silhouettes before a character even speaks a single word. Really think about that. Animators are essentially hacking our subconscious. They're using this hidden visual language to dictate exactly how we feel about a character right out of the gate. Before Ava even takes her first step on screen, her creators have already told us who she is, and more importantly, why we should trust her. All right, moving on to Section 2, the psychology of shapes, or the basic building blocks. Let's start with the circle. It represents youth, friendliness, softness, and harmlessness. You know, think of incredibly popular characters like Kirby or Baymax. A pure circular design is specifically meant to trigger deeply empathetic, disarming psychological responses in our brains. It just bypasses all our defenses, making a character feel inherently safe, warm, and approachable. I mean, there are literally no sharp edges to fear. Now, contrast that with the square. The square represents strength, stability, reliability, and, quite often, stubbornness. Think about a character like Carl from Up, right? His square, blocky design perfectly mirrors his rigid, set-in-his-ways personality at the start of that film. The square gives us a highly grounded, sturdy emotional resonance. It tells us, hey, this character is immovable, practical, and heavily anchored to the world around them. And then we have the triangle. This shape represents energy, speed, and danger. You see this heavily utilized in dynamic action heroes or, sharp-edged villains like Hades. Our brains are practically hardwired by evolution to be cautious around sharp points, which is exactly why malicious characters are so often drawn with angular, piercing features. A triangle basically screams fast, sharp, and inherently dangerous. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we move into Section 3, Ava's geometric blueprint and deconstructing the icon. Let's apply those exact shapes directly onto her design. It is absolutely fascinating to realize how her design is literally split right down the middle in terms of shape language. Just look at her top half, circles everywhere. You've got her oversized goggles, large eyes, round cheeks, even the curved hem of her hoodie. This makes her incredibly disarming and empathetic. But then, contrast that with the bottom half, which leans heavily on squares. We're talking large cargo pants and chunky boots. This grounds her entirely. It ensures she doesn't feel overly fragile, despite that round, friendly face. This duality masterfully tells the story of a sturdy, practical engineer who is also just wonderfully approachable. And when we actually break down the dominance of these shapes, the data is staggering. Circles completely dominate her foundation. I mean, her face is almost a mathematically perfect circle. This ensures she remains primarily soft and friendly despite all her high-tech prowess. Squares sit squarely in the middle, pun intended, to provide that necessary anchor. But look at the triangles, sitting at absolute 0%. This deliberate omission signals to our brains that she harbors absolutely no malicious intent. None. Which brings us to Section 4, the color matrix code, and exactly why she popped. Her designers utilized what's called a split complementary color scheme. Now, this isn't just, picking nice colors out of a hat. It is a highly calculated, mathematical approach to visual harmony. It uses a primary base color contrasted with two colors that sit directly opposite it on the color wheel. And this specific color theory matrix is exactly why she leaps off the background without ever looking chaotic or visually overwhelming to the eye. Let's look at Ava's exact color tritone cheat code. It relies on 3 pillars. Number 1, neon pink, which represents high energy and creativity. Number 2, safety orange, providing a warm, grounding contrast. And number 3, bright teal, heavily used for cool accents on interactive elements like her goggles and drawstrings. Without that grounding safety orange, she seriously ran the risk of looking like a walking piece of neon bubblegum. Instead, the cool teal specifically draws your eye right to the tools she uses most. It's brilliant. But the real magic lies in the precise ratio. We're looking at roughly 60% pink, 30% orange, and exactly 10% teal. Now, this 60-30-10 rule is famous in interior design, but here, it acts as a visual cheat code for high retention in animation. Your eye is naturally drawn exactly to the minority color, those specific points where the warm pinks and oranges suddenly clash against that cool 10% teal. It acts as a permanent focal point. So in practice, this color theory is incredibly powerful. Just imagine her in one of the show's signature dimly lit, gritty industrial environments. The background is muted, muddy, full of chaotic motion. But because of that precise, manufactured clash of warm orange and cool teal, your eye never loses her in the chaos. Tracking her movements through the most complex action sequences is just so satisfying and totally effortless. Moving into Section 5, the key accessory rule, the silhouette's anchor. Back in 1930, Walt Disney established a mandate that honestly still rules animation today. He said, "A truly great character design should be recognizable just by its silhouette. If you remove the color and detail, does the shape still tell a story?" Ava's highly recognizable silhouette perfectly follows this nearly century-old mandate, and that is largely thanks to her defining physical prop. And this brilliantly illustrates the goggle shift. Step 1, goggles up. When they rest on top of her head like a crown, it draws our eyes upward. It actually makes her look slightly taller, and in this mode, she plays the role of the relatable, emotional friend. But step 2, goggles down. This instantly alters her silhouette, widening her face, and transforms her into a focused, serious genius. This functional prop is an incredible storytelling device. It entirely saves the animators from having to build new character models or dramatically alter her posture just to convey a massive shift in mood. Finally, Section 6. A modern animation masterpiece, the silent language. Ava's design is just the ultimate synthesis. It perfectly marries the deeply empathetic warmth of circle geometry with the high-energy contrast of a mathematically perfect split complementary palette. And then it tops it all off with the immediate storytelling power of a simple pair of tech goggles. This combination of shape, color, and silhouette, it isn't just good design. It is literally the exact blueprint of how a modern icon is systematically built from the ground up. Because ultimately, in the golden age of 3D animation, the most powerful tool a creative genius has isn't the software they use. Actually, scratch that. It's not about the tech at all. It's the psychology of how we see. Character design is a silent language. It speaks directly to our subconscious, telling us exactly who to trust, who to fear, and who we are going to remember for the rest of our lives. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. Next time you watch your favorite show, what silent geometry is speaking to your subconscious? Take a really close look at the shapes and the colors, pulling the levers in your mind. I guarantee you'll never look at animated characters the exact same way again. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.